So he's mixing the butter with the flour. What he said a moment ago was the most important thing in any pastry work is the butter. The texture of the butter should be, in fact must be, according to the recipe. So if the recipe says soft butter and you use ice cold butter or melted butter, it's not going to work.
Et ensuite, donc regardez là, on va commencer à travailler la pâte à la main. Regardez, on a un beau sablage comme ça.
He's going to just check with his hands, fielding it through his fingers, making sure that it has that very light breadcrumb look about it.
Les jaunes d'œufs, oui.
Those just egg yolks. You put the butter in the bowl.
Ensuite, je vais mettre mes amandes en poudre.
Ground almonds.
L'alcool.
Quel alcool?
Alors, Chivas.
Chivas Regal, one of our sponsors. He's going to, with your permission, bring out one that he made earlier. Same recipe, but has been sitting in the fridge, so it's firmer and easy to use. And this one he will probably use tomorrow in the kitchen.
Alors, hier, j'ai pris des raisins blonds.
Yesterday, he took the white raisins, or golden raisins.
Et je les ai couverts de whisky jusqu'à ras-bord.
Quel whisky?
Du Chivas.
So he covered them with Chivas Regal yesterday, and he's allowed them to swell, to absorb it.
On a pris le même alcool que pour la crème d'amande tout à l'heure.
Always taking the same alcohol as you have in the almond cream. The sultanas, the raisins, golden raisins that he steeped in alcohol yesterday, can stay in the fridge almost indefinitely. He's using brown sugar in this recipe because it gives it a beautiful colour in the sauce, as well as a caramel flavour. He has to wait until the butter starts to sizzle. Sometimes you might be tempted at home to just say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's not hot enough, I'll throw it in. But in pastry, it's very important to have things at the correct temperature to get the desired result. The sugar absorbs the butter, and you can actually see the colour and the texture of the sugar becomes much darker, much like if they were breadcrumbs, for example, absorbing all of the fat. Adding the cream. So he's adding the sultanas, which will swell in the sauce. Adding the cream in two lots. The first lot, making it homogeneous, in blending it in beautifully, then the sultanas, and then the last little bit of cream. The raisins will continue to swell with the liquid as well as the alcohol that was put in yesterday.
Merci. Et
the first thing we need to say is don't do this at home. He's testing the texture of the sugar and the caramel to make sure that it is thickened so that when it becomes room temperature it has a wonderful homogeneous consistency. And what he does, for experience and lack of time, is in the kitchen he'll use his finger. But we all know that chefs' fingers become immune to pain, and he would recommend at home that you use the back of the spoon just to lift out the tiny drops in the centre, making sure that the heat at the edge is as hot as the heat in the centre so that it is completely. So he's now straining it. You might wonder why, because you're thinking you've got the beautiful sultanas, golden raisins. Why would you strain it? But he's going to put it in the fridge, and the straining will stop the raisins from overswelling and becoming less beautiful to look at. So he's strained it through. The raisins are kept out of the liquid now, and they will be added at the last minute for the decoration and to make the dish beautiful, but they won't have overswollen, which risks them from popping open. This is the pastry that he made before that has sat in the fridge, and he's just rolled it out.
alors, c'était étalé à 1/2 centimètre.
Half a centimetre thick.
Alors, vous voyez que entre tout à l'heure où ma pâte était toute molle et maintenant, il y a une nuit qui s'est écoulée.
If the pastry is too soft, you won't be able to work with it. So he makes sure that it's just the right consistency that he can manage with.
Vous prenez des petits cercles comme ceci.
You take a little mold just like this.
Vous vous en servez comme en porte-pièce.
So these are the raisins that were in the sauce, and the ones that he removed before, which you'll remember that he drained out. And this is the texture now when they're cold. If you don't have some disposable piping bags like this and you don't want to use one, just 2 little spoons to spoon the raisins in will do the job just as beautifully.
Donc il faut ouvrir suffisamment large la poche parce que les raisins ont gonflé.
The raisins are quite swollen, so he's just making a slightly bigger hole in the bottom.
Et vous mettez au milieu une insert de raisin, de sauce avec les raisins.
About a teaspoonful of raisin sauce in the bottom.
Vous voyez, vous mettez un petit peu d'appareil au milieu, comme ceci.
So just about a heaped teaspoonful of mixture in the centre.
Ensuite, vous prenez la crème d'amande.
Vous pochez tout autour.
The almond cream around. So if you could see, I think you probably can in the television, he had the teaspoons or so of raisin mixture in the centre. He's now filling the gap around it with the almond cream. You can see why he needs to go from one recipe back to another for a few minutes, because that had to sit, cool down and thicken, and he needed to get this ready so that when the other ones cool down, he can continue on.
Et ça, vous mettez ensuite des amandes effilées par-dessus.
Flaked almonds on top, putting it in the oven to cook. Okay. 170 degrees Celsius.
Et là, vous les mettez au four.
Through the magic of television,
Alors, regardez. Hop!
sometimes in pastry you see that the top of the tart is beautiful and golden, and in fact it's raw underneath.
Et là, après, vous pouvez les démouler. Et regardez, la particularité, c'est que votre sablé est ici, votre crème d'amande est par-dessus, et à l'intérieur, il y a les petits raisins.
So showing you that you can see the pastry is golden, and that the almond cream has risen beautifully. You can see the little air pockets, and of course you know inside that there's the raisins in the middle. So you can see that the raisins are inside, completely hidden from view, but safely there inside for you to enjoy when you eat it. Very, very fresh, young, just from the tip of the stem.
Voilà. Nous avons notre sauce au raisin.
The raisin sauce.
Nous avons nos petits sablés qui ont été passés avec du sucre. Merci. Couleur.
Vous avez pris ça de France ou vous avez acheté ça ici?
Non, non, c'était apporté, c'était acheté ici.
He's made to counteract, French chefs, particularly modern French chefs like Nicolas, spend a lot of time looking at textures and flavours in the mouth. A drizzle of the sauce, which is warm.
Beaucoup.